Angela Fiore believed walking away from Raphael Mancini was the hardest thing she would ever do. She was wrong. 36 hours after she rejected his proposal beside the pineapple fountain in Charleston, someone broke into her apartment without stealing a single dollar. They left the photographs of her mother untouched. They ignored the jewelry box on her dresser. They passed over the envelope where Angela kept the last of her savings. The only thing they took was the false wooden panel beneath her nightstand. The hiding place where her father's letter and the flash drive had rested for 2 years. And on her pillow, written in black ink across the back of her wedding photograph, were 7 words. "You should have let Mancini take the money." At that exact moment, 400 miles north, Raphael opened the hidden file on the flash drive. He expected to find the $10 million Angela's father had stolen. Instead, he found a list of names. Judges, port officials, police captains, bankers. Men Raphael had trusted since he was a boy. At the bottom was one final name. Vittorio Mancini. Raphael's uncle. The man who had helped raise him after his mother died. The man currently sitting in Raphael's office in New York, waiting to ask why his nephew had returned from Charleston without a bride. By sunrise, Angela would disappear. By midnight, Raphael would have to choose between the woman he loved and the empire built in his family name. And before the week was over, one of them would stand in front of an open grave. But first, Raphael had to turn around. The private jet moved through the night like a silver blade. Raphael sat alone beside the window, the ring box still closed on the table in front of him. He had not touched the whiskey Oscar poured 20 minutes earlier. He had not moved since reading David Fiore's letter. Across the aisle, Oscar watched him with the careful silence of a man who had known Raphael long enough to understand when words would help and when they would only add. Wait. The flash drive rested in Raphael's palm. Small. Black. Ordinary. It should not have been capable of changing the direction of his life. Neither should Angela have been. Yet 6 weeks earlier, she had been a name in a file, the daughter of a dead accountant, a possible path to money that belonged to him. Then she had stood in front of him in a wedding dress, furious and frightened, refusing to lower her eyes. Now every mile the plane traveled away from Charleston felt wrong. Oscar finally spoke. "You want me to tell the pilot to turn around?" Raphael kept his gaze on the dark glass. His reflection looked like a stranger. Calm face. Controlled posture. A man whose heart had not been left beside a fountain. She made a choice. She also gave you the drive. After saying no. She said no to the ring. She didn't say she wanted you dead. Raphael's eyes shifted toward him. Oscar lifted both hands. "I'm only saying there may be a difference." There was. Raphael knew it. Angela's letter proved it. She had not rejected him because she did not love him. She had rejected him because she believed the truth would turn her into his enemy. She had given him evidence that could condemn her and stayed behind so he would not have to choose between love and loyalty. It was exactly the kind of foolish, brave thing she would do. And it made him furious. Not at her. At himself. He had spent 6 weeks telling Angela that he knew her. He knew her coffee order, the bench where she sat when she grieved, the way she folded towels when anxious. The exact expression she made when a recipe disappointed her. But he had not known the fear she carried beneath all of it. He had not made her feel safe enough to tell him. "Connected," Raphael said. Oscar looked at the flash drive. "On the plane?" "Use the isolated system." Oscar moved quickly. He opened a hardened laptop kept in a locked cabinet near the rear of the cabin. The device was isolated from the aircraft controls and routed through a disposable encrypted satellite bridge. It existed for files too dangerous to touch on any permanent system. Raphael inserted the drive. A password field appeared. No hint. No instructions. Oscar frowned. Could be anything. Raphael unfolded David's letter again. Men in my line of work don't get to have families. I kept you and your mother at arm's length to keep you safe. Live a better life than I did. Angela had once told Raphael about the only happy memory she had of her father. A summer afternoon. A park. A melting cup of lemon ice. David had called her his little son because she refused to sit in the shade. Raphael typed little son. The screen rejected it. He tried Angela. Rejected. He tried her mother's name, Teresa. Rejected. Oscar leaned back. 3 attempts may lock it. Raphael read the letter again. Then he noticed something strange. The first letter of each sentence. A, I, M, I, O, Y, I, J, meaningless. He turned the page and studied the handwriting. David's hand trembled, but one line had been pressed harder than the others. I can't tell you what to do with it. Not what to do. What to cook. Raphael remembered Angela in Maria's kitchen, explaining that recipes were memories written in measurements. He remembered her talking about her mother's Sunday sauce, how Teresa Fiore used 3 cloves of garlic, never 4. And 1 spoon of sugar only if the tomatoes were bitter. He typed Teresa sauce. Rejected. Then Oscar said, what did her father call her? Raphael heard Angela's laugh in his memory. My mother called me Angel Eyes. My father used to call me his brave girl, but only when he was leaving. He typed brave girl. The screen opened. Oscar exhaled. Well. The first folder contained bank documents. $11,840,000 sat in a dormant Cayman account under Angela's legal name. More than the $10 million Raphael believed David had taken. The second folder contained copies of internal ledgers dating back 15 years. The third was encrypted. Raphael opened the ledger. Lines of payments filled the screen. Shipping companies. Construction firms. Charities. Political consultants. Most were familiar. Some were not. A payment of $200,000 to a company called Magnolia Bridal Holdings appeared 6 months before Angela met Johnny Harris. Raphael went still. Oscar leaned closer. Bridal? Raphael opened the company registration. It had been dissolved 3 weeks earlier. The listed director did not exist. Another payment led to a private investigator in Charleston. Another to a property management company that owned Angela's apartment building. Another to the cafe where she worked. Someone had not merely watched Angela. Someone had built a cage around her life. The final page contained a list of authorizing initials. V.M. Oscar's face changed. That could mean anything. No. Raphael. No one else uses those initials in our accounts. Oscar closed his eyes for a moment. Vittorio Mancini was Raphael's father's younger brother. He had taught Raphael how to drive, how to shoot, how to recognize a lie before the liar finished speaking. He had stood beside Raphael at both his parents' funerals. He also oversaw the family foundation and 3 of their largest shipping interests. Could David have fabricated it? Oscar asked. Why hide it for 2 years? To turn you against your own blood. Raphael looked at the amount in the account. $11,840,000. The stolen sum had earned interest, but not that much. There was an additional deposit. $1,840,000, transferred 3 months after David's death. Someone had continued using the account after he was gone. A red notification appeared in the corner of the screen. External access confirmed. Oscar swore. The drive sent a signal. Raphael pulled it free, but the message remained. A second line appeared. Account holder located. Charleston, South Carolina. Raphael was already on his feet. Turn the plane around. Oscar reached for the cabin phone. Raphael looked once at the ring box. Then he closed his hand around it and slipped it into his jacket. Angela had made her choice. Now he would make his. He would not force her to come back. He would not put another lock on another door. But if anyone was coming for Angela Fiore, they would have to come through him first. Angela slept for less than 2 hours. She lay on Miranda's sofa wearing an old college sweatshirt, staring at the ceiling while the city woke beyond the windows. Every sound became Raphael's car outside. Every vibration of her phone made hope rise before common sense crushed it again. He had not called. Of course he had not. She had told him no, kissed him goodbye, and run away. Then she had handed Oscar proof that her father had stolen millions from him. What was Raphael supposed to do? Thank her? Miranda appeared from the hallway carrying 2 mugs of coffee. Her hair was twisted into a careless knot, and concern had erased most of her usual brightness. You need to eat. I need to stop hearing his voice. Food first. Emotional collapse second. Angela accepted the mug. You make terrible coffee. And yet you keep drinking it. For a moment, they sat in silence. Miranda glanced toward the packed boxes near the door. What happens now? Angela looked at them. Yesterday, those boxes had been meant for New York. Raphael's bedroom. His restaurant. A life she had been too afraid to accept. Now I find somewhere else to live. Here. Miranda. I'm serious. Stay as long as you need. Angela pressed her lips together. Gratitude hurt almost as much as grief. A loud knock struck the front door. Both women froze. Another knock followed. 3 hard blows. Angela stood too quickly, coffee spilling over her hand. Miranda reached for her phone. I'm calling the police. Wait. A man's voice came through the door. Angela? It's me. Johnny. The shock on Miranda's face turned instantly to fury. You have got to be kidding. Angela's body went cold. She had imagined seeing Johnny again. In some versions, she slapped him. In others, she walked past without speaking. She had never imagined being afraid. Miranda moved toward the door, but Angela caught her arm. Don't open it. Angela, please. Johnny sounded different. Not smooth. Not charming. Terrified. I need to talk to you. You had a year, Angela called. And a wedding day. I know what I did. Do you? A pause. Then, quietly, they're looking for you. Angela's fingers tightened around Miranda's arm. Who? I can't say through the door. Miranda whispered, this is a trick. Maybe it was. But Johnny had always been careless with emotion. He lied easily when he wanted something, smiling as if the truth were a burden other people carried. The fear in his voice now did not sound performed. Angela took the chain off but kept the deadbolt engaged. She opened the door 2 inches. Johnny stood in the hall. He looked as though he had not slept in days. His expensive haircut had grown uneven. A bruise darkened one side of his jaw. His right hand was wrapped in a stained bandage. Angela felt no love when she looked at him. That realization should have brought relief. Instead, it brought sadness for the woman she had been. What happened to you? Johnny glanced over his shoulder. Let me in. No. Angie, please. Don't call me that. His face tightened. The man who hired me knows you came back. Raphael hired you. Johnny gave a short, humorless laugh. Mancini paid me to stay out of the way at the wedding. He wasn't the one who put me in your life. The hallway seemed to tilt. Miranda stepped beside Angela. What does that mean? Johnny looked at both of them. A year and a half ago, a man contacted me. Said he represented an investor who had information about Angela's father. He wanted me to get close to her. Find out whether David left anything behind. Angela could not breathe. You dated me for a year because someone paid you? Johnny looked down. The answer was there. Miranda lunged for the door. I will kill him. Angela held her back. Johnny flinched. At first, yes. Then things got complicated. Because you fell in love with 3 other women? His shame flashed, then vanished beneath urgency. I was weak. I was selfish. Say whatever you want. But listen to me now. The man who paid me is cleaning up everyone connected to the account. What account? He stared at her. Angela's silence told him enough. You know, he whispered. Before she could respond, the lights in the hallway went out. Johnny turned. A soft mechanical sound came from the stairwell door. Suppressed gunfire. The wall beside Johnny splintered. Miranda screamed. Johnny threw himself through the narrow opening, knocking Angela backward. She slammed the door and turned the deadbolt as another shot buried itself in the wood. Move! Johnny shouted. They ran. Angela grabbed Miranda's hand and pulled her toward the kitchen. There was a narrow fire escape beyond the window. Miranda climbed out first. Angela followed, the iron cold beneath her bare feet. Johnny came last. The front door burst inward. Footsteps entered the apartment. Angela descended one level, then another. Her hands slipped on the railing. Below, an alley stretched toward King Street. A dark SUV turned into it. For one wild instant, she thought Raphael had returned. Then the rear window lowered. A weapon appeared. Johnny pushed Angela down as glass exploded above them. Back up, he shouted. They climbed upward again, trapped between the men inside and the vehicle below. Miranda was crying now, breath coming too fast. Angela gripped her shoulders. Look at me. We are getting out. How? Angela looked across the gap between buildings. The neighboring roof was 6 feet away. Too far. The fire escape shook as someone began climbing from below. A door opened on the roof above them. A massive silhouette appeared against the gray morning sky. Oscar leaned over the railing. Miss Angela, he called. I leave you alone for one night. Relief struck so hard her knees weakened. Oscar fired twice toward the alley. The SUV reversed. Behind him, Raphael stepped onto the roof. He wore the same black suit from the proposal. His tie was gone. His eyes found Angela immediately. Everything else disappeared. He crossed the roof, descended the last section of the fire escape, and reached her. Angela expected anger. He touched her face with both hands. Are you hurt? She shook her head. His gaze moved over her, searching anyway. Raphael. Later. He looked at Miranda. Can you climb? Miranda nodded quickly. Then his eyes shifted to Johnny. The softness vanished. Johnny raised his uninjured hand. Before you kill me, I know who ordered this. Raphael's jaw tightened. That information may be the only reason you see Noon. They reached the roof as sirens sounded in the distance. Oscar guided Miranda toward the stairwell. Johnny followed under the watch of 2 armed men. Angela remained with Raphael beside the ledge. Wind pulled strands of hair across her face. He brushed them back with a tenderness that hurt. You turned the plane around. The drive activated a location signal. Her heart sank. I put you in danger. No. His voice was firm. The people who created this danger did that. I lied to you. You were afraid. I knew about the account for 2 years. I know. She looked at him. You don't hate me? His pale eyes held hers. I hated the distance between Charleston and New York. I hated every minute I believed you had chosen a life without me. He paused. But you gave me the truth when you could have destroyed the evidence. Angela's eyes burned. Raphael stepped back before touching her again. The movement was small, but she noticed. He was giving her space. I came because you're in danger, he said. Not because you belong to me. The old words hung between them. You're mine. He seemed to hear them too. I was wrong, Raphael said quietly. Angela stared at him. He looked toward the broken apartment below, then back at her. I took you from your wedding. I decided I knew what was best for you. I called protection ownership because that was the only language I understood. His voice roughened. You taught me the difference. A tear slipped down Angela's cheek. He did not wipe it away. He waited. The choice was hers. Angela stepped forward and pressed her forehead to his chest. Raphael's arms closed around her, careful at first, then fierce. For 10 seconds, she let herself believe they were safe. Then Oscar's voice came from behind them. Boss, we have a problem. Raphael looked over Angela's head. Oscar held up his phone. The account was accessed again. Angela pulled back. By whom? Oscar's expression was grim. By you. The safe house stood on Sullivan's Island behind wind-bent palms and a wall disguised as weathered cedar. From the outside, it looked like an expensive coastal home with white shutters and a deep porch facing the Atlantic. Inside, steel reinforced every door. Cameras watched every approach. The windows were thick enough to stop a bullet. Angela noticed all of it. Raphael noticed her noticing. The doors do not lock from the outside, he said. She glanced at him. He continued, you can leave any room. You can call anyone. Your phone will not be monitored unless you ask us to check it. That's a strange speech for a mafia boss. It's a new one. Oscar made a sound that might have been a laugh as he guided Johnny into the dining room. Miranda had been taken to another secured property with Maria, who had arrived from New York on a later flight. Angela argued until Raphael agreed that Miranda should choose where she stayed. Miranda chose Maria's company. Mostly because Oscar promised there would be food and because Maria had threatened to hit any attacker with a cast-iron pan. Now Angela sat at a long table opposite Johnny. Raphael stood beside the window. Oscar leaned against the wall near the door, arms crossed. Johnny's bandaged hand rested on the table. He looked smaller than Angela remembered. Not physically. Morally. Raphael placed the flash drive beside him. Start at the beginning. Johnny looked at Angela. I was in debt. Angela laughed once, bitterly. So was I, mostly because of you. I know. Do you? Raphael's voice cut through them. Answer the question. Johnny swallowed. A man approached me at a bar in Charleston 18 months ago. He knew I had gambling debts. He offered to clear them if I dated Angela and searched her apartment. Name, Oscar said. He called himself Mr. Vale. Raphael's expression did not change, but Oscar's did. Angela saw it. You know him. Sebastian Vale, Raphael said. Vittorio's financial advisor. Johnny nodded. I didn't know who he worked for then. He gave me photos of Angela, her schedule, information about her father. He said David had stolen from dangerous people and left a key behind. What kind of key? Angela asked. He didn't know. A drive. A number. A letter. I was supposed to find anything unusual. And when you didn't? They told me to marry you. The room went silent. Angela remembered Johnny proposing at a waterfront restaurant, dropping to one knee while strangers applauded. She remembered believing his shaking hands meant love. They had meant fear. Why? She whispered. Spousal access. Shared property. If we were married, I could search everything. Open accounts. Sign documents. Angela rose. The chair scraped sharply against the floor. Raphael moved, but stopped himself before reaching for her. Johnny stared at the tabletop. I'm sorry. She wanted to throw something. She wanted to demand how many moments had been real. Instead, she heard her mother's voice from years earlier. A lie does not become your fault because you believed it. Angela steadied herself against the table. The affairs? Johnny closed his eyes. Real. At least you were honest about one thing. He flinched. Raphael stepped forward. Who attacked the apartment? I don't know their names. Vale's people. After the wedding, he called me. He knew Mancini had taken Angela. He accused me of losing the only chance to recover the drive. 2 nights ago, they grabbed me outside my motel. Johnny lifted his injured hand. They wanted to know if Angela had contacted me. I escaped when they moved me. Oscar looked skeptical. You escaped trained men? One of them underestimated me. Everyone does, Angela said. Johnny looked at her with something like gratitude, then realized it was not a compliment. Raphael opened the laptop. The Cayman account appeared on screen. A transfer of $1 had been initiated at 6:12 that morning using Angela's identification. The receiving account belonged to Magnolia Bridal Holdings. It is a test, Raphael said. Someone is proving they can move money in your name. Angela sat again. Can they take all of it? Not without the second authentication factor. What is that? We don't know. Johnny leaned forward. Vale used to say David was too sentimental. That he hid answers in family memories. Raphael looked at Angela. She shook her head. My father barely spoke to me. But your mother did, Raphael said. The word struck something. Angela pictured the hidden compartment beneath her nightstand. Her mother's old music box. Recipe cards tied with blue ribbon. A silver locket she had not worn since the funeral. Miranda packed my mother's recipe box yesterday. Oscar was already reaching for his phone. Raphael stopped him. Maria can bring it. No one travels alone. Angela studied the screen. Why is the amount more than 10 million? Raphael hesitated. She looked up. No more secrets. His expression tightened. Then he nodded. There was a deposit after your father died. How much? 1,840,000. From whom? A charity controlled by my uncle. Johnny whispered a curse. Angela looked at Raphael. Do you believe Vittorio did this? I believe evidence can be planted. That wasn't my question. He met her gaze. I believe my uncle is capable of it. Pain lived beneath the controlled answer. Angela knew something about fathers who turned out to be strangers. Uncles could do the same damage. She reached across the table. Her fingers stopped halfway. Raphael looked at her hand. Angela completed the distance and covered his. The contact changed his face. Not much. Enough. We find the truth, she said. Then we decide what it means. His hand turned beneath hers, palm to palm. Together? The word carried more vulnerability than the proposal had. Angela breathed in slowly. Together does not mean I am your prisoner. Never again. It does not mean you make decisions for me. I will fail at that sometimes. Oscar coughed to hide a smile. Raphael ignored him. But I will listen when you tell me. Angela's thumb moved once across his knuckles. And if I choose to leave? The question cost them both. Raphael answered without looking away. I will make sure you leave safely. She believed him. That was more frightening than the locks had ever been. Because now, staying would truly be her choice. A vehicle approached outside. Oscar checked the camera feed. Maria and Miranda. A few minutes later, the front door opened. Maria entered carrying 3 bags of food and an expression of personal outrage. I am told people shot at you before breakfast, she said to Angela. This country has no respect for meal times. Miranda followed with the recipe box clutched to her chest. Oscar moved to take the bags from Maria. She slapped his hand away. You protect the doors. I protect the food. He smiled at her. That is why we make a perfect team. We do not make a team. We could. Maria walked past him. Angela hugged Miranda, holding her longer than usual. Then she took the recipe box. It was wooden, painted with faded lemons. Her mother had owned it before Angela was born. The cards inside smelled faintly of cinnamon and dust. They spread them across the table. Sundae sauce. Lemon cake. Rosemary bread. Chicken soup. At the bottom was a recipe Angela had never seen. Brave girl cake. Her breath caught. The handwriting was her father's. Not her mother's. Raphael came to stand beside her. The recipe contained strange measurements. 11 cups of flour. 8 eggs. 4 cups of sugar. No real cake used those amounts. 11, 8. 4. The account held 11,840,000. Angela turned the card over. A sentence was written on the back. The money is not the secret. The people it bought are. Below it were 6 words. When the dove returns, open the blue door. Oscar frowned. What blue door? Angela knew. Her mother's childhood home had been sold after her death. A narrow house outside Charleston with a blue pantry door her father installed one summer and never finished painting. She had not been there in 11 years. Raphael looked at the windows, then at Oscar. We go at dusk. Angela closed the recipe box. No. Raphael's gaze sharpened. She continued, we go now. Whoever accessed the account expects us to hide. It may be a trap. It is definitely a trap. That is not an argument for walking into it. Angela stood. My father built this around memories only I would understand. You need me. I need you alive. And I need my life to stop being controlled by men who claim they are protecting me. The words landed between them. Raphael's jaw worked. For a moment, Angela saw the old instinct in him. Command. Contain. Decide. Then he exhaled. We go together, he said. You wear a vest. You stay beside me. If I tell you to move, you move. Angela considered it. Agreed. Oscar stared at Raphael as if witnessing a solar eclipse. Maria crossed herself. Miranda smiled. Raphael leaned closer to Angela. Do not look pleased. This negotiation has taken years off my life. You are 38. You can spare a few. His eyes warmed. For the first time since the fountain, Angela smiled too. The house on Wren Street had once been yellow. Time had bleached it almost white. Weeds pushed through the cracked walkway. One shutter hung crooked beside an upstairs window. The porch sagged beneath the weight of old storms. Angela stood at the gate with Raphael beside her. She had spent the drive telling herself the house was only wood and paint. Her body did not believe her. This was where her mother sang while cooking. Where David arrived late on Sundays carrying gifts too expensive for a man who claimed he had no money. Where Angela learned that love could look like waiting by a window. Raphael touched the center of her back. Not steering. Only present. You can change your mind. She shook her head. I'm tired of running from dead people. Oscar and 2 men checked the perimeter. Johnny remained at the safe house under guard. Miranda and Maria stayed there too. The front door opened with a key Angela found beneath the third porch stone, exactly where her mother used to hide it. Inside, dust floated through shafts of afternoon light. The living room was empty except for a broken lamp and the pale outlines where furniture once stood. Angela walked slowly. Every room held a ghost. Her mother's laughter near the stairs. Her own bare feet against the floor. Her father's voice in the kitchen, promising he would stay for dinner this time. He never did. The pantry door was still blue. Angela stopped in front of it. The paint was chipped around the handle. A faint pencil mark remained on the frame where Teresa measured Angela's height on her 12th birthday. Raphael read the date. 2 weeks before he left, Angela said. She opened the door. Shelves lined the narrow pantry. Empty jars. Rusted hooks. A single blue ribbon tied around a nail. Nothing else. Oscar entered behind them. Walls? Raphael nodded. They searched. Angela ran her fingers over the shelves. The bottom one felt newer than the rest. She pushed upward. It lifted. Beneath it was a metal box. Her hands began to shake. Raphael crouched beside her. Let me. No. Angela drew the box out herself. It was unlocked. Inside lay a photograph, a key, and a small digital recorder. The photograph showed David Fiore standing beside Raphael's father, Salvatore Mancini, outside a marina. A third man stood with them. Vittorio. All 3 were younger. David looked directly at the camera. Salvatore smiled. Vittorio did not. On the back, David had written a date and 4 words. The day everything changed. The key was labeled 314. Angela pressed play on the recorder. Static filled the pantry. Then her father's voice. Older than she remembered. Tired. Angela, if you found this, then I failed to end it before it reached you. Her breath broke. Raphael's hand closed around hers. David continued. I did not steal $10 million from Raphael Mancini. I moved it. There is a difference, though I doubt Raphael will care when he first learns the truth. Raphael's expression remained unreadable. The money belonged to a reserve account created by Salvatore Mancini. Officially, it was for emergencies. In reality, Vittorio used it to buy people. Judges. Detectives. Customs officers. Anyone who could protect his private operation. Oscar's face hardened. What operation? Angela whispered, though the recording could not answer. David did. Vittorio has been moving weapons through family shipping routes without Salvatore's approval. He arranged violence that kept both sides dependent on him. When Salvatore discovered it, he planned to remove his brother. Raphael went still. The night before Salvatore could act, his car left the road. Angela looked at Raphael. His father had died 5 years earlier. Raphael had said only that he took over the family business after the funeral. David's voice grew rougher. The crash was not an accident. I found the payments. I found the mechanic. I found the officer who buried the report. But Vittorio knew someone was looking. I moved the reserve money before he could use it to kill Raphael too. Raphael's fingers tightened around Angela's. I put the funds in Angela's name because Vittorio would watch every Mancini account, every associate, every enemy. He would not watch the daughter I had abandoned. That was my greatest shame and, in the end, her only protection. Tears blurred Angela's vision. I planned to give the evidence to Raphael. I was afraid he had already become his father. I was wrong. By the time I understood that, Vittorio understood what I had done. A sound interrupted the recording. A door closing somewhere near David. His voice dropped. The money is bait. The real evidence is in a deposit box at Harbor Federal, number 314. The key is with this message. But the box can only be opened by Angela and Raphael together. I arranged it that way because neither family should control the truth alone. Raphael looked at the key. If one of you is hearing this without the other, stop. Find the other person. Trust is the only lock Vittorio never learned to pick. David breathed in. Then, softer, Angela, your mother knew I loved you. She also knew love without courage is only another form of abandonment. Do not excuse me. Do better than me. The recording ended. No one spoke. Angela pressed a fist to her mouth, but the sob escaped anyway. Raphael pulled her into his arms. She cried against him for the father who loved her badly, for the mother who carried the truth alone. For the girl who believed she had not been worth staying for. Raphael held her without telling her to stop. When she finally lifted her head, his eyes were wet. She touched his face. Your father. I spent 5 years believing he died because he drove too fast in the rain. He was trying to protect you. Perhaps. The word was hard. Angela understood. A dead man's motive could not repair the years after him. A floorboard creaked in the kitchen. Raphael turned. Oscar drew his weapon. The pantry light went out. A voice came through the house. Leave the box, and Miss Fiore lives. Raphael pushed Angela behind the pantry wall. Glass shattered in the living room. Smoke rolled beneath the kitchen door. Oscar swore. Fire. The old house caught quickly. Flames climbed the curtains. Raphael took the recorder and key. Angela grabbed the photograph. They moved toward the rear door, but 2 armed men entered through it. Oscar fired. One man fell behind the counter. The other retreated. Smoke thickened. Raphael pulled Angela low, covering her with his body as they crossed the kitchen. A beam crashed behind them. The front hallway was burning. The window, Angela coughed. They entered the small dining room. Oscar broke the glass with a chair. Outside, another vehicle raced toward the house. Raphael lifted Angela through the window, then followed. They ran across the yard as the roof caught fire. The arriving SUV stopped. Its door opened. Johnny jumped out. Oscar aimed at him. Don't shoot. Johnny shouted. The safe house was compromised. Raphael's gaze turned lethal. Where are Miranda and Maria? With your men. They got out. Vale's people found us before the attack here started. Johnny looked at the burning house. They knew about the blue door. Angela gripped the photograph. How? Johnny's eyes dropped to the object in her hand. Because David wasn't the only one who made recordings. A sharp crack split the air. Johnny jerked. Blood spread across his shoulder. Raphael dragged Angela behind the SUV while Oscar returned fire toward the trees. More shots struck the vehicle. Johnny collapsed beside them, conscious but pale. He caught Angela's wrist. "Locker 314, he gasped. "Vale is already there." Then his eyes closed. Johnny survived. The bullet passed through the flesh below his shoulder without touching bone. Oscar's men stopped the bleeding in the back of the SUV while Raphael drove toward Charleston with one hand on the wheel and the other wrapped around Angela's. Behind them, smoke rose above Wren Street. Angela watched her childhood home burn through the rear window until the trees hit it. She should have felt only grief. Instead, she felt anger. The house had already taken enough from her. Vittorio's men were not going to take the truth with it. "Harbor Federal closes at 5, she said. Raphael glanced at the dashboard clock. 4:18. "We are not walking into a public bank after 2 attacks. The box requires both of us. And Vale is waiting. Then he expects us to be afraid. I am afraid." The honesty silenced her. Raphael's grip tightened around her fingers. "I can fight men, I understand," he said. "I can plan for bullets. I can calculate money. But every time you step toward danger, I discover there are things I cannot control." Angela looked at him. "That is not the same as having no control. It feels remarkably similar." She almost smiled. "Raphael, if we wait, Vittorio may empty the box. He cannot open it without us. He burned the house. He knows about the bank. He may not need the documents intact. He only needs them gone." Oscar leaned forward from the rear seat. "She has a point." Raphael's eyes found him in the mirror. Oscar shrugged. "I dislike it too. That does not make it wrong." Johnny opened his eyes weakly. "Vale has someone inside the bank." Raphael looked at him. "Who?" "Branch manager. Harold Keene." Angela remembered the name. Mr. Keene had handled the sale of her mother's house after the funeral. He had spoken softly and charged fees she did not understand. "Can we trust anyone there?" she asked. Johnny's face tightened with pain. "A woman named Naomi Cole. David mentioned her once. Said if things went bad, she was the only person who could make evidence survive." Raphael's expression changed. "You know her too," Angela said. "Federal financial crimes." Oscar whistled. "This day continues to improve." Raphael took the next exit. He made 3 calls. The first sent a medical team to meet them in the underground garage of a hotel. The second moved Miranda and Maria to a location even Oscar did not know. The third lasted less than a minute. "Naomi," Raphael said when the line connected. "David Fiore left a box." A woman's voice answered through the speaker. "I wondered when you would finally find it." 27 minutes later, Angela entered Harbor Federal beside Raphael. The bank occupied a restored marble building near the historic district. Customers moved beneath chandeliers. Tellers smiled behind polished counters. No one appeared to notice the 3 men positioned near the exits or the woman in a gray suit reading a newspaper by the far wall. Raphael had insisted Angela wear a bullet-resistant vest beneath her sweatshirt. It made every breath feel heavy. Harold Keene appeared from a private office. He was 60, silver-haired, with the smooth face of a man who practiced concern in mirrors. "Miss Fiore." His smile looked genuine. "I heard about the fire." "Terrible." Angela held his gaze. "We need access to box 314. The smile remained. His eyes changed. Of course. And Mr. Mancini, I presume. Raphael did not offer his hand. Keene guided them toward the vault. Oscar stayed in the lobby. Naomi Cole remained behind her newspaper. The vault door opened with a mechanical groan. Rows of metal boxes lined the walls. Keene inserted a master key into box 314. Angela used David's key beside it. Raphael placed his thumb against a small biometric reader added beneath the lock. The mechanism clicked. Your father was very particular, Keene said. Angela slid the box out. It was heavier than expected. Raphael looked at Keene. Leave us. Bank policy requires. Leave. The manager's jaw tightened. Then he stepped away. Angela and Raphael carried the box into a private viewing room. The moment the door closed, Raphael checked the vents, the ceiling, and the underside of the table. Angela lifted the lid. Inside were paper ledgers, 6 photographs, a sealed envelope addressed to Raphael, and a second flash drive colored blue. There was also a small cassette tape. Angela picked up the first photograph. Raphael's father stood beside Vittorio at a dock at night. Men unloaded wooden crates from a ship. The date was 3 weeks before Salvatore's death. The next photograph showed Harold Keene exchanging documents with Sebastian Vale. The third showed Johnny entering Angela's apartment while she was at work. Her stomach turned. Raphael opened the envelope. Inside was a copy of Salvatore Mancini's signed order removing Vittorio from all family operations. It had never been executed. A handwritten note appeared beneath the signature. Raphael. If this reaches you, my brother has already acted. I raised you to believe strength meant never yielding. I was wrong. Strength is knowing what must end with you. Do not avenge me by becoming me. End it differently. Raphael read it twice. His face gave nothing away. Angela knew him well enough now to see everything. She touched his arm. The viewing room door opened. Harold Keene entered with a gun. Step away from the box. Raphael moved in front of Angela. Keene's hand trembled. Sweat shone on his forehead. You don't want to do this, Raphael said. I already did it 20 years ago. Angela's pulse pounded. Keene aimed at Raphael's chest. Mr. Vale told me you would come. He said if I delivered the contents, my family would be protected. Vale protects no one. Be quiet. Keene's gaze flicked toward the box. Angela saw his fear. Not cruelty. Fear made people predictable in a different way. My father trusted you, she said. Keene's eyes shifted to her. He trusted no one. He trusted you enough to use this bank. He used me. Maybe. Or maybe he knew you would still be here when I came. Keene's grip tightened. Put the blue drive on the table. Angela lifted it. Raphael's body became completely still. She knew that stillness. It meant violence was one breath away. Mr. Keene, Angela said, if Vale wanted to protect your family, why did he send you into a room with Raphael Mancini? The manager blinked. She continued, he expects you to die. A muscle moved in Keene's cheek. No. Then where are his men? Silence. Why are you alone? Keene looked toward the door. That moment was enough. Raphael crossed the space. He struck the gun aside, twisted Keene's wrist, and pinned him against the wall before Angela could inhale. The weapon hit the floor. The door opened again. Naomi Cole entered with 2 federal agents. Harold Keene, she said, you are under arrest. Keene sagged. Raphael released him. Naomi was in her late 40s, with dark skin, steady eyes. And the exhausted patience of someone who had spent years waiting for other people to catch up. She looked at Angela first. "You have your mother's face." Angela stiffened. "You knew her?" "I knew both your parents." Raphael's gaze sharpened. "You knew about the account." "I knew David moved money. I did not know where." Naomi nodded toward the box. "He contacted me before he died. He wanted immunity and protection for Angela. He never made the meeting." "Because Vittorio killed him," Angela said. "We believe so." Raphael held up Salvatore's letter. "And my father?" Naomi's expression softened by a fraction. "Also Vittorio." The words landed with finality. Raphael looked away. Naomi continued. "David spent years collecting evidence. But much of it was obtained illegally. Witnesses disappeared. Records were altered. We needed original documents and a clean chain of custody." She looked at the blue flash drive. "That may give us one." Angela placed it in her palm. Naomi did not take it. "Once you hand this to me, there is no quiet ending," she said. "Vittorio's network will know. Raphael's organization will fracture. People loyal to his uncle will move against him." Angela looked at Raphael. He stared at his father's note. "Do not avenge me by becoming me." "How many people are protected by Vittorio's payments?" Raphael asked. "At least 40 that we know of." "And if I cooperate?" Naomi answered carefully. "Legitimate operations can survive. Illegal assets will not. You may face charges depending on what the evidence shows." Oscar entered the room after the agents led Keen away. He heard the last sentence. "Boss." Raphael looked at him. For years, those two men had spoken entire conversations with a glance. Angela saw loyalty, fear, history. Raphael turned to Naomi. "What do you need?" Naomi finally took the drive. "Your uncle alive." Vittorio Mancini was waiting at the New York estate when they arrived. He sat at Raphael's dining table eating Maria's rosemary bread as though he owned the house. He was 62, elegant, silver at the temples, dressed in a charcoal suit that cost more than most families earned in a year. His face shared some of Raphael's hard lines, but his eyes were warmer. Angela understood immediately why people trusted him. Danger announced itself in Raphael. Vittorio disguised itself as comfort. "My nephew," he said, rising. "You have caused the entire family to worry." His gaze moved to Angela. Warmth filled his expression. "And this must be the famous little dove." Raphael went cold beside her. "Do not call her that." Vittorio's eyebrows lifted. "Forgive me. I meant affection, nothing more." Angela felt Raphael's hand near hers, not touching. She chose to take it. Vittorio noticed. "Then the stories are true," he said. "Our Raphael has finally fallen in love." Oscar entered behind them. His shoulder brushed the doorframe as he passed. A silent signal that the house had been swept and Naomi's agents were in position beyond the property. The blue drive was no longer with them. Naomi had taken it into federal custody. A duplicate prepared by Oscar rested inside Angela's coat. Vittorio opened his arms. "Come. Sit. We should celebrate your return." "We are not celebrating," Raphael said. His uncle's smile faded slightly. "No?" Raphael placed David's photograph on the table. Vittorio looked at it. "Only once." Then he smiled again. "Old ghosts. You killed my father." Maria stopped in the kitchen doorway. Oscar's face became stone. Vittorio sighed and sat. "That is a serious accusation." You ordered the mechanic to weaken his steering assembly. According to whom? David Fiore. Vittorio looked at Angela with sympathy so convincing she almost admired it. Your father was a frightened thief. He filled your head with stories to excuse abandoning you. He never told me any stories. Then perhaps he had one moment of decency. Angela stepped forward. You paid Johnny to enter my life. Johnny Harris entered your life because he wanted easy money. Men like him do not require much persuasion. You built Magnolia Bridal Holdings. Vittorio tore a piece of bread. I have invested in many companies. Raphael's voice lowered. Stop. The single word changed the room. Vittorio looked at his nephew for a long moment. Then he set the bread down. What do you want? The truth. You already chose your truth before you came through the door. Did you kill him? Vittorio leaned back. Salvatore was going to destroy everything our father built. Oscar's breath left slowly. Maria crossed herself. Raphael did not move. Vittorio continued, almost gently. Your father grew sentimental after your mother died. He wanted to close routes, end alliances, hand records to politicians who would have buried all of us. Hundreds of families depended on our protection. Protection, Angela said. Is that what you call buying judges and arranging murders? Vittorio's gaze sharpened. For the first time, the warmth vanished. Young women often mistake moral certainty for wisdom. Angela held his eyes. Old men often mistake fear for respect. Oscar looked down to hide his reaction. Raphael's fingers tightened around hers. Vittorio studied Angela differently now. I see why he likes you. I don't care. No. You care very much. He looked at Raphael. That is the problem. Raphael stepped closer to the table. You had David killed. He took money that was not his. He took your war fund. He stole from the family. And you spent 2 years hunting his daughter. Vittorio's voice remained calm. I kept watch. If I wanted her dead, she would not be standing here. Angela felt the duplicate drive against her ribs. Where is Sebastian Vale? Raphael asked. Working. Your work ends tonight. Vittorio laughed softly. Do you think one accusation removes me? Half the captain's answer to me. The port's answer to me. Men your father knew before you were born answer to me. Raphael's face was unreadable. Vittorio leaned forward. You have always been intelligent. Do not become foolish because a pretty girl cries in your bed. Raphael moved so quickly the chair behind Vittorio toppled. He gripped his uncle by the collar and pulled him to his feet. Every guard in the room reached for a weapon. Oscar's pistol appeared first. Angela's heart hammered, but she did not step back. Raphael held Vittorio close. My father taught me never to threaten family, he said softly. Angela taught me family is not blood. It is who remains when fear would make leaving easier. Vittorio smiled. Then she has made you weak. No. Raphael released him. She has made me choose where my strength belongs. Vittorio straightened his jacket. The faintest uncertainty entered his eyes. He had expected rage. He understood rage. Restraint disturbed him. Raphael continued. You will leave my house. By sunrise, every account you control will be frozen. Every captain will receive copies of my father's order removing you. Every legitimate company will be separated from your operations. You cannot do that in one night. I started before the plane landed. Vittorio's gaze shifted to Oscar. Oscar smiled without warmth. Busy flight. Vittorio looked at Angela. Then at the coat she still wore. For 1 second, his eyes rested exactly where the duplicate drive was hidden. He knew. Angela realized it too late. Vittorio lifted his hands. Very well. I will go. He walked toward the door. At the threshold, he paused beside Maria. Your nephew Paolo still works at Pier 9, does he not? Maria went white. Oscar moved toward him. Vittorio raised one finger. Threats are such ugly things. I was only remembering family. Then he left. The front doors closed. Maria's hands began to shake. Oscar caught her shoulders. Where is Paolo now? Night shift. He was already calling. No answer. Raphael looked toward the security screens. Vittorio's car disappeared through the gates. Naomi, he said into his phone. Move now. A gunshot sounded outside. Then the estate went dark. Emergency lights flickered red. The alarm system failed. Oscar swore. Internal access. Raphael drew his weapon. Men shouted in the corridor. Angela reached inside her coat for the duplicate drive. It was gone. A hand closed over her mouth from behind. She drove her elbow backward. The man grunted. Angela twisted free long enough to see him. One of Raphael's guards. A man who had opened the gate for them dozens of times. He grabbed her again. Raphael turned. The guard pressed a blade to Angela's throat. Drop it. Raphael's weapon lowered. Oscar's did too. The guard backed toward the service hall with Angela held against him. Maria stood frozen near the kitchen. Vittorio says thank you for bringing the key home, the guard said. Angela's eyes met Raphael's. No panic. No sudden move. Trust. She let her body go slack. The guard adjusted instinctively. Maria threw the pot. Heavy copper struck his wrist. The blade fell. Angela dropped and rolled. Raphael fired once. The guard collapsed behind her. Oscar pulled Maria down as shots erupted from the corridor. Raphael reached Angela and covered her body with his. Are you hurt? No. Drive? She checked her coat. Empty. The wounded guard laughed weakly. Vale has it. Raphael looked toward the open service door. A motorcycle roared beyond the kitchen courtyard. Oscar ran to the window. He's gone. Angela pushed herself upright. Let him go. Raphael stared at her. She took a breath. The drive is fake. The room went quiet. Oscar turned slowly. Fake how? Angela looked at Maria. When she brought me the recipe box, I asked her to hide the real duplicate in the one place a Mancini man would never search. Maria's fear transformed into satisfaction. She reached beneath her apron and pulled out a blue flash drive wrapped in wax paper. The flour bin, she said. Men who do not cook think flour is only flour. Oscar stared at her with open admiration. I love you. Maria blinked. He seemed surprised he had said it aloud. She tucked the drive back into her apron. We will discuss your poor timing later. Angela looked at Raphael. His pale eyes moved from the drive to her face. Something changed there. Not ownership. Respect. You planned for betrayal, he said. I learned from experts. Despite the gunfire, despite the red lights, despite everything, his mouth almost curved. Then Naomi's voice came through the radio. We lost Vittorio. Raphael looked toward the dark gates. Angela saw the decision forming in him. Hunt. Retaliate. Finish it the old way. She touched his hand. He looked down. Alive, she reminded him. His father's words stood between them. End it differently. Raphael holstered his weapon. Alive, he agreed. By morning, the estate had become a command center. Naomi's agents occupied the library. Oscar's loyal men guarded the grounds. Maria refused to leave the kitchen and fed everyone whether they asked or not. Angela sat at the long island with a cup of coffee growing cold between her hands. Raphael stood across the room speaking to captains through an encrypted video call. He had not slept. Neither had she. One by one, he told powerful men that Vittorio had murdered Salvatore Mancini, used family companies for private crimes, and ordered attacks on Angela. Some believed him. Some demanded proof. Two ended the call without choosing a side. One declared Raphael compromised by emotion. Raphael listened without reacting. When the final screen went dark, he braced both hands against the desk. Oscar approached. 7 with us. 4 uncertain. 3 with Vittorio. Pier 9. Locked down. Paolo is missing. Maria's knife stopped against the cutting board. Oscar's face softened when he looked at her. We will find him. You had better, she said, but her voice broke. Angela stood. What can I do? Naomi entered carrying a folder. Tell me everything you remember about your mother's recipes. Angela frowned. Why? The real drive contains encrypted files. The password is not brave girl. They gathered around the isolated laptop. A list of locked folders appeared. Rosemary. Lemon. Salt. Sunday. Each asked for a 6-digit code. Angela opened the recipe box. Her mother had written dates in the corners of certain cards. Angela always assumed they marked when recipes were perfected. Rosemary bread, April 12, 98. Lemon cake, July 3, 01. Sunday sauce, November 19, 03. The years did not fit 6 digits unless shortened. 041298, the Rosemary folder opened. Inside were shipping manifests. 070301 opened lemon. Inside were photographs of weapons concealed within medical supply containers. Naomi's mouth tightened. 111903 opened Sunday. Inside was a list of officials receiving monthly payments. Salt remained. Angela searched every card. No recipe was called salt. Raphael sat beside her. What did your mother say when food needed salt? Angela remembered Maria's soup. Her own careless criticism. Raphael telling her he had learned to respect a woman's work from his mother. She closed her eyes. Teresa Fiori never placed salt on the table. If a guest asked for it before tasting the food, she would smile and say, "You cannot know what is missing until you understand what is already there." Angela whispered the sentence. Naomi looked at the screen. What is already there? Raphael pointed to the opened folder dates. April 12, 98, July 3, 01. November 19, 03, add them. Oscar wrote the numbers. 4 plus 7 plus 11 equaled 22. 12 plus 3 plus 19 equaled 34. 98 plus 1 plus 3 equaled 102. 223402, rejected. Difference, Angela said. My mother adjusted recipes by difference. Too sweet, add acid. Too rich, add salt. They subtracted smallest from largest in each column. 11 minus 4 equaled 7. 19 minus 3 equaled 16. 98 minus 1 equaled 97. 716997, the salt folder opened. A single video file appeared. David Fiori sat in a dim room. He looked directly into the camera. If you open this, Angela and Raphael are together. Raphael's breath stopped. David continued. Vittorio believes the account is a reserve. It is not. Every dollar is tagged through a federal recovery program. The moment the full balance moves, it creates a permanent record of the receiving network. Naomi leaned closer. I set up the final transfer with agent Naomi Cole. Only Angela can authorize the funds. Only Raphael can name the receiving account. That prevents either family from using the money alone. Angela looked at Naomi. You helped build this. Your father insisted on safeguards. David's image flickered. Vittorio will demand the money. Let him. Give him an account he controls. The transfer will identify every person who touches it. Raphael's jaw tightened. He wants Angela used as bait. Naomi answered without looking away from the screen. He wanted both of you to choose. David continued. But there is a cost. The transfer cannot be reversed. Once the money enters Vittorio's network, it may take months to recover. Some will disappear. Raphael will lose the reserve permanently. Angela looked at Raphael. $11 million was enormous to her. To him, it was more than money. It was leverage, protection, the last piece of his father's empire. David's face softened. Raphael, if you are the man I hoped you would become, you already know money is the least expensive thing this will cost. The video ended. Silence filled the library. Naomi closed the laptop. We create a controlled account and leak that Angela is ready to transfer the money in exchange for peace. No, Raphael said. Angela turned. We just heard. No. The old command returned. His face was calm, but fear stood behind it. Naomi crossed her arms. Without Angela's authorization, we cannot complete the trace. Then find another way. There may not be one. Raphael looked at Angela. You will not meet Vittorio. I didn't say I would. You were about to. I was about to discuss it. There is nothing to discuss. Anger rose in her. You promised. This is different. It is always different when you are afraid. His eyes flashed. Yes. I am afraid. Everyone went still. Raphael rarely raised his voice. Now it broke across the room. I watched bullets tear through the wall beside you. I watched a man hold a blade to your throat in my own house. I turned my back for one night and found you trapped on a fire escape. So forgive me if I am not interested in an academic conversation about placing you in front of the man who murdered both our fathers. Angela's anger did not disappear. It changed. She crossed the room until she stood in front of him. I am afraid too. His chest rose and fell. I was afraid when I found the letter. Afraid when I said no at the fountain. Afraid when I saw you on that roof. But fear does not get to make every decision for us. It keeps people alive. Sometimes. Sometimes it only keeps them from living. Raphael looked away. Angela touched his jaw, the same way she had before leaving him in Charleston. This time, she did not say goodbye. If we do this, she said, we plan it together. I do not walk into a room alone. I wear protection. Naomi controls the location. Oscar controls the exits. You stay where you can reach me. No. Raphael. No. She dropped her hand. Then we have not changed. Pain flashed across his face. Angela continued quietly. You apologized for the cage. But a cage with an open door is still a cage if you punish me for walking toward it. He stood completely still. Oscar looked toward the windows. Naomi found sudden interest in her folder. Maria stopped chopping. Raphael's voice was low. You think I would punish you? I think you would love me so fiercely that you might forget I have to remain myself. The truth hurt them both. Raphael closed his eyes. When he opened them, the battle inside him had not ended. But he stepped back. What do you need from me? He asked. Angela exhaled. Trust. I trust you. Then trust the woman you love, not only the woman you protect. His gaze held hers. Slowly, he nodded. We do it together. Oscar released a breath. Maria resumed chopping. Naomi opened the folder. Then we need a place Vittorio believes he controls. Angela looked toward the restaurant beyond the estate grounds. The kitchen where she had first earned Raphael's respect. The alley where she discovered he fed people no one else saw. The room where their lives had begun to change. I know the place, she said. They planned for 18 hours. The restaurant would host a charity dinner announced through channels Vittorio monitored. Angela would publicly reveal a foundation created with her father's money. The announcement would suggest she intended to transfer the Cayman funds at midnight. Vittorio would believe the entire network could be exposed. He would come. Naomi placed agents among the guests and staff. Oscar rebuilt the security system from the ground up. Raphael contacted every captain who remained undecided and invited them to witness the evidence. It was not merely a trap. It was a trial conducted in the only court the Mancini world respected. By 10 that night, Angela could no longer read the same page of instructions. She left the library and found Raphael on the terrace. Rain fell beyond the covered roof, soft against the garden. He stood with his hands in his pockets, looking toward the dark restaurant. You should sleep, she said. So should you. She joined him. For a while, neither spoke. The silence between them no longer felt like a weapon. Angela leaned against the stone railing. What happens after? If this works? When it works? His mouth moved faintly. When it works, Naomi arrests Vittorio and anyone tied to the transfer. The captains decide whether to accept the new structure. What structure? Legitimate businesses only. Angela turned. Raphael watched the rain. The restaurants. Hotels. Construction. Property. Everything that can survive daylight remains. The rest ends. Can you do that? I can try. What will it cost? Men will leave. Some will become enemies. Assets will be seized. Investigations will continue. And you? He looked at her. I may not know for months. The possibility of prison entered the space between them. Angela's throat tightened. Raphael reached for her, then stopped. She closed the distance herself. His hands settled at her waist. If Naomi charges you? I answer for what I did. You saved people too. I hurt people too. The honesty mattered. Angela rested her palms against his chest. I don't need you to pretend you were never dangerous. What do you need? To know danger is not the only thing you can be. Rain blew beneath the roof, cooling her skin. Raphael lowered his forehead to hers. I do not know how to be this man without you. Then learn. Because I cannot be the reason you change. I can only be the person who sees you doing it. His eyes closed. When he kissed her, there was no demand in it. No claim. Only a question. Angela answered. She wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him with all the hunger she had carried since the fountain. Raphael lifted her against him, then stopped himself before the moment became something decided by momentum. Tell me, he said against her lips. The words were rough. Angela understood. Tell me what you choose. I choose you tonight. His breath caught. Tomorrow? Ask me tomorrow. A smile, rare and unguarded, changed his face. He carried her inside. The bedroom door closed. The storm continued beyond the windows, but the scene belonged only to them. Later, Angela lay against his chest beneath white sheets. Raphael traced the line of her shoulder. The first time you entered this room, you were planning to take control. She lifted her head. How did you know? You looked at me like a woman preparing for battle. I was. Did you win? Angela considered it. Neither of us did. That is not how I remember it. She laughed softly. The sound faded. Raphael, why did you really come for me personally? He had answered before. Interest. Instinct. Something beyond the debt. Now she wanted the entire truth. He stared at the ceiling. 3 months before your wedding, I watched you leave work after midnight. It was raining. A homeless woman sat beneath the awning across the street. You gave her the box of pastries you had been carrying. Angela remembered. The woman was named Evelyn. You then walked 6 blocks because you had spent your bus money buying her coffee, Raphael continued. One of my men asked why I was still watching you when it was clear you knew nothing about the account. His fingers moved through her hair. I told him I was waiting for proof. Of what? That your kindness was an act. Angela's chest tightened. It never came, he said. Then I watched Johnny take your money. I watched him leave your apartment and meet another woman. I knew what he was. I knew what your wedding would become. You could have warned me. Yes. Instead, you took me. Yes. Regret entered the word. Raphael looked at her. I wanted the drive. I also wanted you away from him. And beneath both reasons was one I did not admit until later. What? I wanted you near me. Angela held his gaze. That was not love yet, he said. It was selfish. Possessive. I thought wanting something gave me the right to take it. And now? Now I know love begins where entitlement ends. Tears stung her eyes. She kissed the center of his chest. After a while, Raphael slept. Angela remained awake. At 2:13 in the morning, her phone lit on the nightstand. Unknown number. A photograph appeared. Maria's nephew Paolo sat bound to a chair in a warehouse. His face was bruised, but his eyes were open. Below the image was a message. Bring the real drive to Pier 9 at dawn. Come alone or he dies. Angela looked at Raphael asleep beside her. Then at the message. The old version of her might have hidden it to protect him. The old version of Raphael might have ordered her locked in the room. Angela woke him. His eyes opened instantly. She handed him the phone. Rage entered his face. Then he looked at her. You told me. No more secrets. He sat up. Good. The word held pride and fear. Angela took his hand. Together. Raphael called Oscar. Before dawn, they changed the plan. Dawn found the Hudson the color of steel. Pier 9 stretched into the river behind a line of warehouses and rusted cranes. Fog moved low across the pavement, swallowing the far end of the dock. Angela sat in the rear of an armored van wearing a black coat over protective gear. A wire rested beneath her collar. The real blue drive remained at the estate. The one in her pocket contained a beacon and a file designed by Naomi. Oscar checked the magazine in his weapon. Across from him, Maria sat rigid, both hands wrapped around a rosary. Raphael had argued against bringing her. Maria had answered by throwing a wooden spoon at his head. Now she looked at Angela. Paolo was 6 when his mother died. I raised him. He thinks because he is 30 he no longer needs me. He needs you, Angela said. Maria nodded once. Yes. The van stopped 2 blocks from the warehouse. Naomi's voice came through Angela's earpiece. Perimeter teams in position. We have 6 heat signatures inside. 1 seated. 5 moving. Vale? Raphael asked. Facial match on the east window. Likely. Raphael turned to Angela. They had revised the plan 3 times. Angela would enter with the false drive. Raphael would remain out of sight unless Vale exposed himself. Naomi needed him alive, but Paolo came first. You remember the signal? Raphael asked. I touch my necklace twice. If the wire fails? I say the soup needs salt. Oscar glanced at Maria. A terrifying phrase in this family. Maria did not smile. Raphael's gaze stayed on Angela. If anything changes, you leave. If anything changes, we adapt. Angela. She touched his hand. I will come back. His fingers closed around hers. That is not a promise anyone can make. No. But it is the direction I am walking. He lifted her hand to his mouth. Then he let go. Angela stepped into the fog alone. The warehouse door stood open. Inside, a single work light hung above Paolo. He was tied to a chair near the center of the floor. Dried blood marked his temple. Sebastian Vale stood behind him. He was younger than Angela expected, perhaps 40. Thin. Immaculate. His navy overcoat looked untouched by the damp air. 2 men guarded the side doors. 2 more stood on a metal walkway above. Miss Fiore, Vale said. You inherited your father's talent for delay. Angela stopped 10 feet away. Let him go. Drive first. She held it up. Vale smiled. David spent 2 years making us chase shadows. Recipes. Old houses, sentimental little puzzles. I confess, I expected more from him. You expected fear. I understand fear. No. You understand obedience. His smile faded. Good. Angela needed him emotional. Men like Vale built their advantage by believing they were the calmest person in the room. Where is Vittorio? She asked. Preparing for tonight. So the dinner continues. Vale's eyes sharpened. He had not expected her to know the larger plan. Angela continued. You want Raphael's captains in one place. You want the account transfer in front of witnesses. Then you kill him and claim he betrayed the family. Paolo lifted his head. Vale's expression remained smooth, but one of the guards glanced toward him. A small confirmation. Angela touched her necklace once. Not the signal. A warning to Raphael that her theory was right. Vale extended his hand. The drive. Release Paolo. You are in no position to negotiate. Angela looked around the warehouse. 5 armed men. 1 hostage. A woman you believe is too frightened to think. She met his gaze. This is the safest you have felt in years. Vale laughed softly. You sound like Raphael. No. Raphael would have shot you by now. Above, 1 guard shifted. Angela heard the faint click of a safety. Vale held out his hand again. She walked forward. At 6 feet, she stopped. How did my father die? Car accident. Liar. Most daughters prefer comforting answers. I prefer useful ones. Vale studied her. Then he nodded toward Paolo. 1 guard cut the rope around his ankles but left his wrists bound. A gesture of good faith. Angela tossed the drive. Vale caught it. The moment his fingers closed around it, Naomi's voice sounded in Angela's ear. Beacon active. Vale handed the drive to a technician near a laptop. Angela watched the screen. A password prompt appeared. Code? Vale asked. Release him. His patience thinned. Code. Angela stepped toward Paolo. A guard blocked her. She looked at Vale. The soup needs salt. Everything happened at once. The warehouse lights went out. Oscar's team breached the west door. Naomi's agents entered from the riverside. Gunfire cracked from the metal walkway. Angela dropped behind a steel barrel. Raphael emerged from the fog inside the east entrance. Vale grabbed Paolo by the collar and dragged him toward a side exit. Angela moved before anyone could stop her. She ran low between stacks of pallets. A bullet struck wood above her. Raphael shouted her name. Vale reached the door. Angela saw an emergency lever beside the loading platform. She pulled it. A suspended cargo net dropped from the ceiling. Hundreds of empty plastic containers spilled across the floor. Vale lost his footing. Paolo fell away from him. Angela reached Paolo first and pulled him behind a forklift. Vale rose with a weapon in his hand. He aimed at her. Raphael hit him from the side. The gun skidded beneath a pallet. They crashed into a stack of crates. Vale fought without elegance now. Elbows. Knees. Desperation. Raphael struck him once, twice, then drove him against the concrete. Vale laughed through blood on his lip. You think arresting me ends anything? Raphael's fist drew back. Angela saw the moment. The old answer. The simple answer. She said his name. Raphael stopped. Vale looked at Angela and smiled. She controls you. Raphael lowered his fist. No, he said. I control myself. Naomi's agents pulled Vale away and secured his hands. Oscar cut Paolo's restraints. Maria crossed the warehouse faster than Angela had ever seen her move. She held her nephew's face between her hands, scolding and crying at the same time. Paolo managed a weak smile. I knew you would come. Of course I came. Foolish boy. Oscar stood behind them, his large hands hovering as if he wanted to embrace both but feared Maria might strike him. She looked at him. Well? Oscar blinked. Well, what? Are you not going to hug us? He gathered them carefully into his arms. Angela turned. Raphael stood a few feet away. Fog moved through the open doors behind him. He looked furious. She prepared for the argument. Instead, he came to her and checked her face, her arms, the vest beneath her coat. You ran toward Paolo. Yes. You pulled a cargo release without knowing what it held. I saw the containers. A weapon was pointed at you. I noticed. His jaw tightened. Angela waited. Raphael breathed in. Then out. You adapted. She smiled slowly. I did. I disliked every second. I know. His hand settled at her waist. But I trusted you, he said. The words were quiet. Angela touched his cheek. And I came back. He kissed her in the middle of the warehouse while agents moved around them and Maria complained that Paolo needed a hospital. When they separated, Naomi approached with Vale's phone sealed inside an evidence bag. We have tonight's guest list, she said. Vittorio plans to attend under another name. Raphael looked toward Vale, who sat against a pillar under guard. He knows the drive was false. Naomi nodded. But he also believes we recovered nothing from the laptop. He sent a message before we took him. To Vittorio? 3 words. She showed them the screen. The dove knows. Angela felt the old fear rise. Raphael's hand found hers. This time, fear did not tell her to run. It told her where the danger stood. The restaurant opened at 7. By 6:30, black cars lined the circular drive. Politicians, investors, captains, attorneys, and charity directors entered beneath camera flashes. The public believed they were attending the launch of the Fiori Foundation, a culinary program for families facing food insecurity. Only a few guests knew the night might end with arrests. Angela stood in the upstairs office looking at herself in the mirror. Maria had chosen her dress. Deep blue, simple, elegant, with long sleeves and a narrow waist. No bridal lace. No costume selected by someone else. Angela had chosen it too. That mattered. A knock sounded. Raphael entered. He wore black. Of course he did. But tonight there was no visible weapon beneath his jacket, no bodyguard at his shoulder, no cold mask already in place. For a moment, he only looked at her. What? Angela asked. I am remembering the first time I saw you dressed for a future you did not choose. Her chest tightened. And now? Now you look like the woman choosing it. He crossed the room. In his hand was a small velvet box. Angela's breath caught. Raphael saw the reaction and opened it quickly. Not the ring. A silver locket lay inside. Her mother's locket. The police recovered it from the apartment, he said. Miranda told me it belonged to Teresa. Angela lifted it with trembling fingers. Inside were 2 tiny photographs. Her mother on one side. Angela at 8 years old on the other. Thank you. Raphael fastened it around her neck. His fingers brushed her skin. No proposal, he said. She looked at him through the mirror. Disappointed? Terrified. His rare smile appeared. Angela turned. After tonight, we talk about everything. Everything? The future. New York. Charleston. The restaurant. Whether we live in a fortress. It is an estate. It has reinforced windows. Many fine homes do. She laughed. Raphael's smile faded into tenderness. After tonight, he agreed. Oscar entered without knocking. He wore a tuxedo and an expression of personal offense. Maria says this jacket makes me look like a refrigerator. Raphael looked at him. A formal refrigerator. Thank you, boss. Oscar handed Angela an earpiece. Naomi has teams in the kitchen, loading bay, and ballroom. Vittorio's 3 loyal captains arrived. No sign of Vittorio. He is here, Raphael said. How do you know? He would not miss watching me lose. They went downstairs. The main dining room had been transformed. Candles glowed against glass walls. White flowers filled low bowls along every table. Through the windows, the city shone beyond the river. At the center of the room stood a long display of dishes from Angela's menu. Rosemary bread. Lemon cake. Sundae sauce. Food from the recipes that had hidden the truth. Maria had insisted. You turn bad memories into good food, she said. That is how we win. The guests took their seats. Angela recognized Julian from Monaco beside his wife Sophie. Julian had flown in after Raphael explained only that the foundation mattered. Sophie greeted Angela without the condescension she had shown in Monaco. Perhaps people could learn. Or perhaps danger made manners easier. Naomi sat near the rear dressed as a donor. Miranda occupied a table with Maria and Paolo, whose shoulder was bandaged beneath his jacket. Johnny sat under federal guard in a private room upstairs, preparing to testify. Angela did not know whether she would ever forgive him. She knew forgiveness was no longer required for freedom. At 7:30, Raphael stepped onto the small stage. The room quieted immediately. "Thank you for coming," he began. "Tonight was announced as the beginning of a foundation. It is also the end of something." Several captains shifted. Raphael continued. "For generations, my family confused fear with loyalty. We called silence respect. We called control protection." His eyes found Angela. "I have used those words too." The admission moved through the room like wind. No Mancini boss apologized in public. Raphael did. "The legitimate companies under my authority will separate permanently from all criminal operations. Records have been placed with council and federal authorities. Anyone who chooses daylight may remain. Anyone who chooses the old system leaves tonight." A captain named Bellini rose. "You hand our family to the government for a woman?" Raphael's expression hardened. "No. A woman taught me to see what my father understood too late." Bellini looked around the room for support. Another captain stood. Then sat beside Raphael's side of the divide. One by one, men made their choice. 7 remained. 4 left the tables and moved toward the exits. Naomi's agents did not stop them. Not yet. Angela stepped onto the stage. Her hands trembled, but her voice did not. "My father, David Fiore, moved $11 million into an account in my name. For 2 years, I believed the money proved he was a thief. Tonight, I learned it was evidence." Screens behind her displayed copies of the ledgers. Faces changed. Names appeared. Payments. Dates. Photographs. A murmur spread. Angela continued. "At midnight, the full account will be transferred to an account controlled by the person responsible. Every receiving bank, company, and official connected to that money will be identified." The room erupted. Bellini shouted that the evidence was false. Sophie covered her mouth. Julian stared at the screen. Oscar's gaze moved constantly across the exits. Raphael stood beside Angela. "Vittorio Mancini," he said, "you may continue hiding, or you may answer in front of the family whose name you used." A waiter near the center table set down a tray. He removed his glasses. "Vittorio." The room went silent. He wore a white service jacket over his suit. He smiled at Raphael. "I taught you to check every guest," he said. "You never learned to look at the people carrying the plates." Maria looked offended. "He is not one of my waiters." Oscar almost laughed. Vittorio walked toward the stage. No one stopped him. Naomi needed the transfer. Raphael needed the confession. Angela needed the end. Vittorio climbed the steps. "Beautiful speech," he told Raphael. "Your mother would have cried." Raphael's face changed. Vittorio saw it and smiled. "She cried easily near the end. Do not speak about her." "Why?" "She was the beginning of all this. Elena convinced your father that the family could become respectable. She made him ashamed of the power that fed you." Raphael stepped forward. Angela touched his hand. Vittorio noticed. "There it is," he said. "The leash." Angela looked at him. "You keep calling love a weakness because no one has ever stayed with you without fear." His smile vanished. For the first time that night, she reached him. Vittorio took a phone from his pocket. The screens changed. A live video appeared. Miranda sat in the upstairs room, a man behind her with a gun. Angela's blood froze. She looked toward Miranda's table. Empty. Her friend had left minutes earlier, saying she needed the restroom. Oscar spoke into his cuff. No response. Vittorio smiled again. Your agents watched the doors. My man was already inside. Naomi rose. Vittorio lifted the phone. If anyone moves, Miss Carter dies. Angela's pulse roared in her ears. Raphael moved closer to her. Vittorio addressed the room. At 11:55, Angela will authorize the transfer. Raphael will enter the receiving account I provide. Then he will announce his withdrawal and leave New York. And Miranda? Angela asked. Released when I confirm the funds. You will kill her. Perhaps. Trust is such a delicate thing. Raphael's voice was quiet. Take me instead. Vittorio laughed. You are already mine. You always have been. I made the world that made you. No, Angela said. Both men looked at her. You made the cage. He walked out. Vittorio's eyes narrowed. Angela turned toward Naomi. Prepare the transfer. Raphael caught her arm. She looked at him. Trust. The word passed between them. He released her. Naomi moved to the laptop positioned beside the stage. The clock read 11:31. 24 minutes remained. The charity guests were escorted into the ballroom under guard. Only the captains, Naomi's team, Maria, Oscar, Raphael, Angela, and Vittorio remained in the dining room. On the screens, Miranda sat very still. The man behind her wore a kitchen uniform. His face was partly hidden by a cap. Angela studied the room around them. Stainless steel counter. Dry storage shelves. A narrow service elevator. Not the office upstairs. The video feed had been staged in the restaurant kitchen. But which one? The restaurant had 3 food preparation areas. Main kitchen. Pastry kitchen. Basement charity kitchen. Angela noticed a bowl behind Miranda. Blue ceramic with a chipped rim. She had used it that morning to mix lemon glaze. It belonged in the pastry kitchen. Angela looked at Maria. Maria had seen it too. Their eyes met. Angela touched 2 fingers to the silver locket. Not the agreed signal. A new one. Maria slowly turned toward Oscar and whispered something. Oscar did not react. At 11:38, Naomi opened the transfer portal. Account holder verification, she said. Angela placed her palm on the scanner. A code arrived on her phone. Vittorio watched every movement. Raphael stood on Angela's right. His hand did not touch her. He was giving her space even now. What receiving account? Naomi asked. Vittorio recited a number. She entered it. The system displayed the owner. Mariner Relief International. Naomi's eyes flicked toward Raphael. Another charity. Another mask. $11,840,000, Naomi said. Once authorized, the transfer cannot be recalled through this portal. Vittorio smiled. Do it. Angela looked at the screen showing Miranda. Let me speak to her. No. Then no transfer. Vittorio's gaze chilled. Angela leaned closer to the microphone beside the laptop. Miranda, can you hear me? Her friend looked toward the hidden camera. Angie. Are you hurt? No. The gunman pressed the weapon closer. Miranda swallowed. Angela forced her breathing to remain steady. Do you remember the lemon cake we made for my mother's birthday? Miranda blinked. They had never made lemon cake for Teresa's birthday. Yes, Miranda said carefully. What did I forget? Miranda looked toward the bowl behind her. The salt. Angela smiled faintly. The gunman frowned. Raphael understood. So did Oscar. Basement teams moved. Vittorio saw the change too late. What did you say? He demanded. Angela pressed authorize. The transfer began. A progress bar appeared. 5%. 10%. Vittorio raised his phone. Kill her. The gunman in the video turned toward the door. It burst inward. Oscar entered the pastry kitchen with 2 agents. The feed spun as the camera fell. Miranda screamed. A shot sounded. Angela's heart stopped. Then Oscar appeared on the screen, pulling Miranda behind the steel counter. She's safe, his voice came through the dining room speakers. Vittorio threw the phone. Raphael moved. Vittorio drew a concealed weapon from beneath the service jacket and fired. Raphael pushed Angela down. The bullet struck the screen behind them. Naomi's agents raised their weapons. Vittorio seized Maria and dragged her against him, gun pressed beneath her chin. Oscar was still downstairs. Paolo started forward. Maria shouted, "Stay back." The transfer reached 42%. Vittorio backed toward the loading corridor. "Completed," he ordered. Naomi's hands hovered over the keyboard. Raphael stood between Vittorio and Angela. "Let her go. You have nothing left to offer." "I have me." Vittorio laughed. "You think I want you alive? You wanted control. Killing me gives you a war. And losing the money gives me nothing." 55%. Maria's face was pale but furious. Her right hand rested against Vittorio's arm. Angela knew that hand. It kneaded dough every morning. Strong fingers. Precise timing. Maria looked at a silver tray near her elbow. Angela looked too. Vittorio followed their gaze for half a second. Maria stamped down on his foot and drove her head backward into his jaw. The gun moved. Raphael crossed the distance. A shot exploded. Maria fell. Oscar entered the dining room at a run. His roar seemed to shake the glass. Raphael struck Vittorio's wrist. The gun hit the floor. Vittorio reached for a knife. Angela grabbed the silver tray and swung it into his forearm. The knife dropped. Oscar caught Maria before she struck the floor. Blood spread across her sleeve. "Shoulder," she gasped. "Stop shouting." Oscar's face crumpled with relief and rage. Raphael drove Vittorio against the stage. The older man fought like someone who had survived by never believing rules applied to him. He reached for the fallen gun. Raphael reached it first. Vittorio froze. The barrel pointed at his chest. The transfer reached 82%. Naomi's agents held their positions. "Raphael," Angela said. He did not look at her. Vittorio's breath came hard. "You know what happens if you let me live," he said. "Trials. Headlines. Every weakness exposed. Your mother's pain. Your father's cowardice. Your crimes." Raphael's finger rested near the trigger. "You killed him." "Yes." The confession filled the room. Vittorio smiled with blood on his teeth. "I cut the steering line myself." He looked at me before the car left the road. He knew. Raphael's face became empty. Angela saw the boy beneath the man. The son who had buried a father. The nephew betrayed by the person who helped carry the coffin. Vittorio continued, "Do it. Prove I was right about you." The transfer reached 91%. Raphael lifted the gun slightly. Angela did not tell him he was good. She did not tell him he was better than Vittorio. She said the only truth that mattered. Choose what ends with you. Raphael's eyes closed. 1 breath. 2. He lowered the weapon. Vittorio lunged. Raphael turned the gun and struck him across the wrist, then forced him to the floor. Naomi's agents moved in. They secured Vittorio's hands. The transfer reached 100%. Every screen went black. Then lines of data began appearing. Receiving banks. Secondary accounts. Payment routes. Names. Dozens of them. Naomi looked at the list. We have the network. Vittorio stared at the screen. For the first time, he looked old. Raphael stood over him. You built power from fear, he said. Now everyone who feared you gets to speak. Vittorio was led away. Oscar knelt beside Maria while a medic treated her shoulder. She touched his face with her uninjured hand. You said you loved me. Oscar looked as though he had been shot too. I do. Good. She winced. Because I am not getting injured twice for a man who cannot commit. Despite the chaos, laughter broke through the room. Oscar kissed her forehead. Angela turned to Raphael. His hand still held the gun. He looked at it, then placed it on the table. His father had asked him to end it differently. He had. Angela crossed the room. Raphael gathered her against him. His body shook once. Only once. She held him tighter. At 12:07 in the morning, federal agents began arresting men across 3 states. At 12:19, the first bank froze Mariner Relief International. At 12:46, Naomi received confirmation that nearly $9 million had already been secured. And at 1:03, Raphael Mancini sat on the kitchen floor with Angela beside him, his back against a cabinet. While the most powerful empire in New York changed shape around them. What happens now? Angela asked. Raphael looked at her. Now I keep my promise. What promise? That if you choose to leave, I make sure you leave safely. Her heart tightened. He continued, the danger is not over. The investigations will be public. I may face charges. You should have a life untouched by this. Angela stared at him. After everything, he was offering freedom. Not as a test. Not as manipulation. As love. She took his hand. I already left once. His eyes searched hers. I did not like it. Neither did I. Angela leaned closer. I am not staying because you saved me. I am staying because when it mattered, you listened. You trusted me. You chose not to become the man who hurt you. Raphael's throat moved. And because I love you, she added. Still. Completely. Inconveniently. A broken laugh escaped him. He pressed his forehead to hers. Then stay. Angela kissed him. I choose to. The arrests continued for 3 weeks. Vittorio Mancini was charged with conspiracy, murder, financial crimes, and corruption. Sebastian Vale accepted a cooperation agreement within 48 hours. Harold Keene provided banking records. Johnny testified to the scheme that placed him in Angela's life. In exchange, he entered protective custody and faced reduced charges for fraud and unlawful access. Angela saw him once before he left. They met in a federal building beneath lights that made everyone look tired. Johnny wore a sling. For several seconds, neither knew what to say. Finally, he spoke. I did love you. At the end. Angela looked at him. Maybe you loved how I made you feel. He lowered his eyes. Maybe. She felt no satisfaction in his shame. Only distance. I hope you become someone who can tell the difference, she said. Do you forgive me? Angela considered the question. No. He flinched. But I am done carrying you. That was the freedom she chose. She left him there and did not look back. Raphael's legal situation took longer. Naomi's investigation separated crimes he ordered from crimes committed under Vittorio's hidden network. Raphael surrendered records, assets, and testimony. Several illegal companies were dissolved. Properties were seized. He spent long days with attorneys and longer nights answering questions. For the first time in his adult life, he had no guarantee of the outcome. Angela stayed. Not every night was romantic. Some nights Raphael woke from dreams of his father's crash. Some mornings Angela grieved David with anger instead of tears. They argued about security. They argued about New York. They argued about how many bodyguards were reasonable for a trip to buy groceries. 1, Angela said. 4. 2. 3 and Oscar. Oscar counts as 3 by himself. From the doorway, Oscar nodded. Fair. Maria, her arm in a sling, struck him gently with a towel. Their engagement took place 6 days after the restaurant attack. Oscar proposed in the kitchen with a ring hidden inside an empty cannoli box because Maria threatened to end the relationship if he placed jewelry in food. She said yes after making him ask twice. The Fiori Foundation launched quietly. Recovered funds, legal settlements, and private donations financed community kitchens in Charleston and New York. Angela became its culinary director. She designed programs that taught practical cooking skills, provided meals, and offered paid training to women rebuilding their lives. She refused to use money the government had not cleared. Every dollar had a record. Every account had daylight. Raphael kept the restaurants, 2 hotels, and the legitimate construction company. He sold the nightclubs. He closed the shipping routes connected to Vittorio. Men called it weakness. Then the businesses grew. Employees who once stayed silent began reporting theft and intimidation. Managers were promoted for competence instead of family name. The restaurant charity line expanded from 1 afternoon a week to every day. Raphael discovered legitimate leadership required more patience than fear. He complained about it constantly. Angela loved watching him learn. 2 months after Vittorio's arrest, Naomi arrived at the estate with a final document. Raphael and Angela met her in the library. The cooperation agreement is approved, Naomi said. Raphael will plead to financial offenses tied to operations he controlled. No violence charges under the evidence available. Angela's hand tightened around his. What does that mean? She asked. 18 months of monitored release, substantial fines, asset forfeiture, and continued cooperation. No prison? Raphael asked. No prison. For a moment, he did not react. Then his shoulders lowered. Angela had not realized how much tension they held until it disappeared. Naomi placed another envelope on the desk. This belongs to you. Angela opened it. Inside was the final accounting of the Cayman funds. 9,200,000 had been recovered. After restitution, penalties, and claims, a legal inheritance remained in Angela's name. $1 million. She stared at the number. My father wanted me to be safe. Naomi nodded. Now you decide what that means. Angela looked through the window toward the restaurant. People waited beneath tents for lunch. Children chased one another near the garden. Maria stood at the door directing volunteers with her good arm. Safe no longer meant hidden money. It meant choices. Put half into the foundation, Angela said. The rest into a trust. No secrets. Naomi smiled. Your mother would approve. Angela looked up. You knew her well? We met twice. She was afraid of David's world, but she was not afraid of him. There is a difference. What did she say about me? Naomi's expression softened. That you would grow up and feed people. Not only food. Courage. She said you always gave away the best piece of anything. Tears filled Angela's eyes. Raphael put an arm around her. After Naomi left, they stood in the quiet library. Raphael looked at the empty space where his father's portrait had once hung. He had moved it to a smaller room. Not destroyed. Not worshipped. Remembered accurately. Are you happy? Angela asked. He considered. I am learning. That wasn't the question. Raphael looked at her. Yes. The answer seemed to surprise him. Angela smiled. He touched the locket at her throat. I have something to show you. He led her outside. Beyond the restaurant, workers had begun renovating an unused building near the garden. New windows reflected the afternoon sun. A sign stood near the entrance. The Teresa Fiori Culinary School. Angela stopped walking. Raphael watched her carefully. You did this? I funded the building. The foundation owns it. You control the program. Her eyes filled. You named it after my mother. She taught you to feed people. It seemed appropriate. Angela turned and threw her arms around him. Raphael caught her. I take this as approval. She kissed him. Workers politely found other things to look at. When Angela pulled back, she noticed something near the doorway. The old blue pantry door. Charred at the edges but intact. You saved it. Oscar recovered it after the fire. Raphael had restored the wood but left the pencil marks on the frame. Angela traced the line beside her 12th birthday. For years, the blue door had hidden fear. Now it opened into a kitchen filled with light. The first time Angela told Raphael she wanted her own apartment, he became so still that even Oscar stopped chewing. They were eating breakfast in the estate kitchen 3 days after Naomi delivered the cooperation agreement. Sunlight covered the table. Maria had returned to work despite strict medical instructions and was using her uninjured arm to direct everyone else. Angela placed her coffee down. I found a place in Charleston. Raphael looked at her across the table. A place for the foundation? For me. Silence. Oscar slowly lowered his fork. Maria turned away from the stove, ready to intervene if necessary. Raphael's voice was controlled. You are leaving. I am not ending us. Those sound similar from where I am sitting. Angela took a breath. I moved from my apartment to your plane, then to your estate, then into your bedroom. Every home I have had for the last several months has been chosen because a man decided where I should be. Pain crossed his face. She reached for his hand. This is not punishment. I love you. I want New York. I want the restaurant and the school and this impossible family. But before I marry anyone, I need to know I can build a room that belongs to me. Raphael looked at their joined hands. Before you marry anyone? Angela felt heat rise to her cheeks. That was not the important part. It was important to me. Oscar smiled into his coffee. Maria pointed a spoon at him. Do not make this worse. Raphael turned back to Angela. Where is the apartment? Near the foundation kitchen in Charleston. 2 bedrooms. A small balcony. Terrible cabinets. I can replace the cabinets. No. I know a contractor. I know you own a construction company. I would charge a fair price. You would buy the building. He considered. That would solve several issues. Angela tried not to laugh. This is exactly why I need to do it myself. The humor left his eyes. How long? I don't know. He withdrew his hand. For one frightening second, Angela thought the old Raphael had returned. The man who answered uncertainty with possession. Then he nodded. I will help you move. You don't have to. I know. That was the answer. 2 weeks later. Raphael carried a second-hand bookcase up 3 flights of narrow stairs while Angela walked behind him insisting he was holding it at the wrong angle. I have moved shipments heavier than this through ports during storms, he said. Bookshelves have corners. So do shipping containers. Not corners that scratch rented walls. At the landing, Raphael turned too quickly. The bookcase struck the plaster. Angela stared at the white mark. He looked at it. Do not say anything. She laughed so hard she had to sit on the stairs. Raphael put the bookcase down and watched her with offended dignity. The apartment was nothing like the estate. The floors creaked. The bathroom faucet dripped. The balcony overlooked an alley where delivery trucks arrived at 6 every morning. Angela loved it. She chose yellow curtains. She bought mismatched dishes from a thrift store. She hung her mother's recipe cards in simple frames above the kitchen counter. Raphael kept his promise. He did not buy the building. He did, however, arrange for the broken streetlight outside to be repaired within 12 hours. Angela decided not to ask how. They divided their weeks. Angela spent 4 days in Charleston developing the foundation kitchen and 3 in New York. Raphael visited when legal meetings allowed. Sometimes he arrived in a black car with security. Sometimes he appeared alone at her door carrying groceries and pretending he had not flown 500 miles to eat dinner at a table meant for 2. He always knocked. The first night he stayed, Angela handed him a key. Raphael closed his fingers around it. Are you certain? It opens the front door. It does not make you the landlord. He looked at the key for a long moment. Then he placed it on his ring. A week later, he gave her a key to the estate. Not a security card monitored by guards. A plain brass key. 2 doors, he said. Both open from either side. The arrangement became their proof. Not that love required distance. That love could survive it. Then the story reached the newspapers. Mafia boss escapes prison after kidnapping bride. The headline appeared above a photograph from Angela's interrupted wedding. Someone had sold images of Raphael carrying her from the hotel while she fought against him. Television commentators called her a victim, a gold digger, a frightened witness, and a criminal accomplice. None of them called her by the name she had chosen for herself. Reporters gathered outside the Charleston Foundation kitchen. Raphael wanted to remove them. Naomi advised silence. Angela chose something else. She held a press conference beneath the sign for the Teresa Fiore Culinary School. Raphael stood behind the cameras, out of sight. Angela faced the microphones alone. What Raphael Mancini did on my wedding day was wrong, she began. The crowd quieted. He took away my choice. The fact that he exposed a cheating fiancé does not erase that. The fact that I later fell in love with him does not make the beginning romantic. Behind the cameras, Raphael lowered his eyes. Angela continued. But people are not only the worst thing they have done. Change does not happen when we rewrite harm into love. It happens when the person who caused harm names it, accepts consequences, and behaves differently when fear returns. A reporter shouted, "Are you saying he changed because of you?" No. I am saying he chose to change. I refuse to carry that responsibility for him. Another asked, "Do you feel safe with him?" Angela looked directly toward Raphael though the cameras could not see him. Yes. Why? Because he knows I can leave. The answer spread online before the conference ended. Some people still mocked her. Some did not believe her. Others wrote to the foundation. Women described marriages where every door was technically open, yet leaving had never felt possible. Mothers described starting over at 50, 60, 70. Young women asked how to tell protection from control. Angela read every letter. She created a new program through the foundation offering culinary training and emergency employment to women rebuilding after coercive relationships. Raphael funded it without placing his name anywhere. One evening, he stood on Angela's small balcony while traffic moved below. "You told the world I kidnapped you," he said. "I told the truth." "I know. Are you angry?" "No." He looked toward the alley. "I am ashamed." Angela joined him. "Good." He turned, surprised. "Shame can be useful for about 5 minutes," she said. "After that, it has to become action or it turns into self-pity." Raphael's mouth curved faintly. "You have become very severe." "I learned from experts." He touched the brass key on his ring. "Do you regret giving me this?" "No." "Do you regret staying?" Angela answered without hesitation. "No." The tension left his face. She rested her head against his shoulder. Below, the repaired streetlight glowed over the sidewalk. Inside, 2 keys lay on the kitchen counter. One for Charleston. One for New York. Neither was a chain. Both were invitations. 6 months after the night of the transfer, Angela returned to Charleston. Waterfront Park glowed beneath late afternoon sun. The pineapple fountain scattered light across the walkway exactly as it had the day she rejected Raphael. This time, she arrived first. Miranda stood near a bench pretending not to watch. Maria and Oscar waited farther away, arguing about whether Oscar's tie was straight. Naomi had declined the invitation but sent a message that read, "Do not create any paperwork that requires federal review." Angela wore a cream dress and her mother's locket. In her pocket rested the ring Raphael had offered once before. He believed it remained locked in his desk. Oscar had helped Angela borrow it. Raphael approached from the promenade. No guard surrounded him. 2 remained at a respectful distance because monitored release did not eliminate enemies or common sense. He saw the others, then looked at Angela. Suspicion entered his face. "What is this?" Angela smiled. "A choice." He stopped in front of her. She remembered him on one knee, vulnerable and certain. She remembered closing the box. Now she took it from her pocket. Raphael's eyes widened. Angela opened the ring box. "I am not going to kneel," she said. "This dress is difficult enough." Miranda laughed behind them. Raphael did not look away from Angela. She continued. "The first time you asked me to marry you, I loved you. But love was tangled with debt, fear, secrets, and a choice I wasn't ready to make." His expression softened. "You gave me an exit," she said. "Then you proved you would honor it. You turned a plane around because I was in danger, but you did not drag me back. You trusted me when every instinct told you to lock every door. You chose the truth when it cost you an empire." Angela's voice trembled. "I cannot promise our life will be simple. I cannot promise I will stop arguing about bodyguards. I cannot promise Maria and I will ever agree on the correct amount of salt." Maria made an offended sound. "But I can promise there will be no hidden accounts. No locked doors. No love that asks either of us to disappear." Tears shone in Raphael's pale eyes. Angela held out the box. "Raphael Mancini, will you marry me?" For the first time since she had known him, the man who always had an answer appeared speechless. Oscar whispered loudly, "Say yes, boss." Maria elbowed him. Raphael took the ring box. Then he closed it. Angela's heart stopped. His mouth curved. "Thank you for giving me a choice." She stared at him. He had used her words from the first proposal. Raphael stepped closer. "My answer is yes." Relief and laughter broke through her. He removed the ring and slid it onto her finger. Then he kissed her beside the fountain while their family applauded. When they separated, Raphael touched her cheek. "I had a speech prepared for the next time I proposed." "You were planning to ask again?" "Every day." "Why didn't you?" "You asked me to wait until after the investigations." Angela smiled. "You listened." "I am learning." Miranda approached crying. Maria cried too but denied it. Oscar embraced Raphael hard enough to lift him half an inch from the ground. Raphael looked offended. Angela laughed until her sides hurt. As the sun lowered over Charleston Harbor, she understood something her father never had. Love did not protect people by leaving them in darkness. It protected them by telling the truth and staying long enough to face what came after. They married in the garden behind the restaurant the following spring. Angela did not wear the original wedding dress. That gown belonged to a day when other people had arranged her future. She chose a new one. Soft ivory silk. A simple neckline. Tiny embroidered lemons along the inside hem where only she and Maria knew to look. Miranda zipped it. When Angela caught her friend's eyes in the mirror, they both laughed. "Check behind you," Miranda said. Angela turned. No stranger stood there. Only the open door and the sound of people gathering outside. Raphael waited beneath an arch of rosemary and white roses. Oscar stood beside him as best man. Maria sat in the front row with one hand wrapped around Oscar's mother's hand. Paolo carried the rings and complained that everyone treated him like a child after one kidnapping. Naomi attended in a blue suit and refused to sit near any known accountant. Julian and Sophie came from Monaco. Even several former captains attended, men who now ran trucking companies,